quarry seems like chaos at first, but before long I began to make it out. It's very highly controlled, the king's work. Everyone has a place and a purpose.
$5 million tons of stone would be needed for the Great Pyramid, the vast majority quarried on site at Giza. It's currently estimated that it took around 1,500 men to quarry it. Theirs was a skilled job, not one for raw conscripts like Nacht and Deba. Each quarryman was issued with a copper chisel. Copper was the hardest metal known to the Egyptians, but it still blunts easily within about 100 blows or so. So there was a support group of men to sharpen the chisels, another specialist task. Each man would take a blunt chisel, soften it in the fire, reshape the tip, and then temper it in water before getting it back into use. That meant another group was needed to bring the sharpeners tinder for their fires, and water too. These would certainly have been suitable tasks for the untrained conscripts. Another specialist group in the quarry was the scribes. To ensure that it reached its correct destination, every block was marked with a different symbol ready to be transported to the pyramid itself. The question, when an average block weighed 2.5 tons, was how?
Within a few days we went from bringing water to the sharpeners to serving a gang who called themselves Khufu's drunkards. They were a tough lot, and their job was to haul stones from the quarry face to the pyramid itself. Our foreman had singled us out as quick learners. Grandfather had always said, if you want to get on, keep in with the boss. We soon worked out there was a real knack to this work. Without water, the sledge would stick fast. Add just enough, and it slid easily. It's the tafla, the clay you get at Giza. Once it's wet, everything will slide on it. The best part of a working day was evening, when we washed and ate. We'd work 9 days and rest on the 10th. We settled quickly to the work. Other conscripts were allowed back to their villages after a few months, but we were kept on. I never felt lonely because of Deba. At night we'd hear the lions out in the desert, and we'd talk of our villages. We may have said we were homesick, but in truth, we had become each other's family. We had all grown used to the rhythms of our barracks and our work. Rhythms that never changed, until one morning. We'd been at Giza a little less than a year. It was nearly noon, and we had broken for something to eat when Yunu came to us. We were to report for a new job, away from our designated corner of the quarry.
The quarry at Giza was about half a mile to the south of the actual pyramid site. And because of strict demarcation, those working around the quarry face would not have set foot on the pyramid itself. The site could only be accessed by the means of 2 huge ramps. one running up directly from the quarry to the pyramid, the other running from the pyramid to the Nile. They met at the pyramid's southwest corner.
I'll never forget climbing the ramp for the first time. I had never been so high in my life, and it was the first time we had seen the pyramid from close up. It just took your breath away.
The pyramid already towered above the desert floor. Without cranes or levers, the only way the pyramid builders could have raised stone to such a height was on ramps, made of the desert earth and compacted rubble and held together with gypsum mortar.
On our way up, we passed different hauling teams. The friends of Khufu, the worshippers of Khufu. The foremen were getting them to compete for who could work fastest. As one gang was going up with a loaded sledge, they'd meet another coming down empty. And according to where they passed on the ramp, they'd know who was winning the race.
This rivalry fueled a phenomenal work rate. Each and every working day for around 16 years, 1,000 tons of stone were quarried, cut and dragged up onto the surface of this immense construction project. And constructing the outer part of the pyramid was not the whole task that confronted Khufu's builders. From outside, the pyramid looks like a solid structure, but as a tomb, it had to contain a burial chamber. Uniquely, the Great Pyramid was to accommodate not one, but 3. One chamber was raised some 100 feet up in the actual masonry, and directly beneath it was another, dug into the rock of the desert floor. By 2474 BC, the third and most important chamber was under construction, and so was a huge internal gallery by which it would be reached. The top of the pyramid in progress was a plateau, roughly the size of 10 football fields joined together. At its center was the internal gallery, where teams of specialists were preparing for the construction of the upper burial chamber.
Yunu enrolled Deba and me in a work gang hauling blocks in a great central passageway for a chamber that was being constructed at the very top. He explained that this chamber would be the final resting place of the king. The steep slope of the passageway made the work exhausting. At the end of the day, we longed to return to our barracks. But Yunu had other ideas. Of course, we knew of the compound where all the full-time workers and the supervisors lived, but we'd never been there. And who was there? But Karam R. He was, as always, at the center of things.